Hey, it's Dallas, and I just wanted to say, first of all, hello, Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for watching this. I am with my partner in crime, Daryl Eves. Probably not the best title to give when we're
No, it's
talking
not the
to our
best.
investors, but we mean that in the best way possible. Uh, Thank you so much for joining us for this. And we're not going to give you a scripted update. We have some bullet points that we want to go over with you. I've got my laptop here. Daryl's got his laptop. And as first of all, I just want to say, I apologize for the fact that Daryl looks so much better than I do, and that he has such a better setup than I do. He's, as you may or may not know, because you don't see Daryl too often. I know I'm normally the one who's in front of the camera talking about the project, but Daryl is actually one of the premier YouTube and social media brand experts in the world, really. He's got his own YouTube channel. So he's oftentimes talking to audiences and building audiences for other brands. And that's one of the reasons why he's involved in this project is the fact that from the beginning, we needed someone to help run the business. That's not my forte at all. And that's Daryl's forte. He runs several businesses. He's a audience builder, and we needed, of course, this project to reach the world, and that was Daryl's forte. And Daryl, real quick, because again, so many of our investors don't know you well, could you just give a quick overview of why you actually got involved in this particular project and how this is different from other projects that you've worked
Yeah,
on?
first and foremost, my biggest thing in life is God and family. Like that is by far where my priorities at. It's always been in the courses of the decisions that I make in my businesses that I run. Is it going to be pleasing to God, and is it going to take care of my family and my family relationships? So the family relationships is extremely important to me. And how I got involved with this project was I put on a conference every year that we have thousands of people come together to learn from industry experts on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and mostly with online video and the businesses behind that. And a friend of mine who I partnered with on several different projects is Jeffrey Harmon, who is a co-founder of VidAngel, and he flew from Utah to LA, and here I am trying to put on an event for thousands of people. And he's like, Daryl, I need 30 minutes of your time. I'm like, do you see what's going on here? I can't just slip away. And he goes, no, you need to see this. And I kind of pushed him off a little bit because putting on an event is a very difficult thing. And there's a lot of little logistics, and there's a lot of little things, the details that happen. And he goes, no, I literally flew here just so that you could watch this. And I'm like, okay, I got time. He says, it's 19 minutes. I promise you that's all you need to do. And I remember we found a room that we were able to do it. And it was myself, another partner that we have, Ricky Ray Butler, and a couple other YouTube influencers that are faith driven and connected to the word. And we were all in this little conference room, and we get into it. And we hit this moment, and I got interrupted, and it was one of those powerful moments where the shepherd was going to give the water to Mary, and I was just bawling. And here comes the one of the organizers of the event says, we need you to put out this fire. And I remember I stopped, and Jeffrey goes, you can't leave now. I go, I know where this is going. I want to be a part of this. I don't care if I hold the light. Just tell me what we're going to be
Right.
doing with this. And it was a week later that Dallas and I sat down, and we just hit it off immediately. And I could see that he was super passionate and creative. One of the skill sets that I have in dealing with my industry of what I actually do personally is I identify talent that actually has a gift that they can give. And they're usually deficient in some of the other aspects of being successful, and I partner up with them, and we find a way to use the God-given gifts that I have with the God-given gifts that they have, and it's the power to create. And we hit it off immediately. Dallas warned me in the beginning that he had partners before, and they weren't very good. But there was a moment, and I've never shared this with you before, Dallas, and it will probably get me a little emotional, but there was a moment that we were sitting down, and you were talking about this vision for this project, and you mentioned that you just felt called to create this story. And I remember hearing the pitch of you talking about this, and I knew everything that I was doing up to that moment of that day, I knew I was being prepared to help. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. I didn't know what that was going to be. I had no idea that I would actually be running the company and doing all the logistics with the Securities Exchange Commission and doing all the little details along the way. I just thought I was going to come in and help promote. I had no idea where that would be, but I knew like everything that I was doing is up to this moment.
Yeah. And I think that's true for me. And I think that's been true for so many people who were involved in this project. And it's been, I think we all feel like we're passengers on a train that's moving, that God is conducting, at the risk of sounding cheesy, and we're just trying to keep up and do our part. So with that, I want to get right into why you are watching, which is we want to give you kind of our State of the Union, our year recap. I think we're going to try to do this every year just to make sure that you are informed. We want to be as authentic as possible. I've got some notes here that I want to cover. The first thing that I wanted to make sure I brought up was just a reminder that this was an investment. You are an investor and a partner in this project. Not everyone remembers that. Sometimes it feels like a donation, like when can I donate again? And we try to remind everyone, no, this is an investment. You are a financial partner in this as well as a spiritual partner. I know so many of you invested not for the financial return, but because you wanted to see this project go out to the world. And we'll get to that later. But just so you know, just to make sure you got the logistics correct, is that you should have with an organization called Issuer Direct. They handle the investment, and they are the ones who handle all the financial aspects of it from a strictly, from an online perspective. They're the ones where you're going to get all your information. You should have gotten an email with all those details of how to check the status of your investment. If you are not sure of that, if you don't remember getting that, please email support@thechosen.tv, support@thechosen.tv, and they will help you they will point you in the right direction. They will make sure you've got whatever you need, but that's where you'll be able to keep track of things. So I just wanted to remind you of that, just so that you're informed moving forward. I also want to make sure that you understand that today, what we're going to be sharing with you is, again, we're not trying to do some sort of cheesy sales report or some excited, hey, cheerleading session. We want to make sure that we're telling you the strengths and weaknesses of where we're at.
We got some good news though, Dallas. So we can't just push it aside.
Well, I always like to lower expectations.
Oh, okay.
So that people feel excited once we give them the good news. But you and I talked about this, Daryl, that we said anytime we communicate to our investors, we want to be absolutely authentic as possible.
Yeah.
And I think it would be silly and not believable if we said, oh, this year has just been a breeze. Everything has gone exactly according to plan. That has not been the case. And in many cases, the fact that hasn't been what we've planned, some of the things that have happened, has been a great thing. God has shown us some amazing things that were way better than what we were hoping would happen or that we were planning on. And then in other cases, he had to show us by showing us the mistakes we made. So we want to talk about that so that you know that we take everything seriously and that we learn from our mistakes. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the things that haven't necessarily gone according to plan this year. So we save the best for last and we tell you about all that's going great. So I'll just share a couple things and then I'll let Daryl share a few things. We're doing a new thing with this. We talk about this often, Isaiah 43:19, behold, I am doing a new thing. And that has been a motto for us. We're the first ever multi-season show about the life of Christ. That's a new thing. Our financing, we're the number one highest crowdfunded media project of all time. That's a new thing. That's a good thing. But with being a new thing, there's also obviously times where it's difficult and you have to learn on the fly. We're doing this outside of the system, and the system has done it for a long time. So real quick, I think we can acknowledge that the pre-release section of this release that started right around Easter of 2019, it was clunky. We had some ideas. We and VidAngel, our distribution partner, which we'll talk about later, got together and had some ideas on a way that we could kind of build an audience slowly, knowing that we don't have the millions and millions of dollars for marketing that a big studio has. And so we thought this pre-release idea would be an effective way of getting people who are passionate about the show to purchase the streaming opportunity and purchase DVDs, which would potentially allow us to then finance future marketing efforts. And I think it went clunky. I think it was confusing for a lot of people. Some people didn't quite know how they could stream it. I think the software that was being used wasn't as easy to navigate. I think the website was at times not easy to navigate. I think we rushed things a little bit in our efforts to try to just get something out by Easter. So we learned a lot on the fly, but it was a frustrating time. I think there was a couple months there where all of us were a little bit frustrated, a little bit confused. We knew that our customers were confused. We knew that you were probably confused at times. So many of you were saying, we want to share this, but we're not exactly sure how. And so we learned a lot from that. And we'll get to some of that in a minute or two. But I think we can just acknowledge that the first few months weren't ideal. And fortunately, they were coming on the heels of a fantastic fundraise. And so we had the means to go ahead and film episodes 5 through 8 this summer.
Yeah.
And that filming, I think, was a battery recharge. It aroused more interest in the show. And while we were doing that, and while we were saying, listen, this pre-release thing is not going as well as it could, that's when we came up with the idea for doing an app. And then we did this in conjunction with VidAngel. And Daryl, I'm going to actually let you talk about this, because around the time that this app idea came, it came as the result not only of a clunky pre-release, but also because of an issue that VidAngel had that we can't get into too much detail, obviously, but VidAngel had an issue, and we thought, what will the future hold with VidAngel? And to their credit, they, of course, were saying, yeah, we want this show to succeed. And if it's not through our platform, maybe there's another way to do this. And that's when we talked about the app. But why don't you talk about what happened this summer with VidAngel?
Yeah, I mean, before we get into the specifics of what happened with VidAngel, I think we need to come back to the initial raise. We had the initial raise. We were able to start fundraising and get things done. We were able to do episodes 1 through 4. And then we got to a point where we decided to shoot 5 through 8. And I can tell you right now, I think Dallas and I need to write a book called The Mana Marketing Program, because we've been on the Mana program.
I like the idea that when she talked about the Mana plan, that we're just every day, our arms outstretched, hands open for God's manna each day, and only that amount, not anything more.
Yeah, and we hit one of those moments where we made the decision, hey, we need to get going on 5 through 8. And we did not have the money in place for the budget. We were actually short quite a bit because of some people's investments didn't go through, and some of the logistics of that. And so we knew we needed to do another raise. And so we actually went to do another raise, and we did. And I was super pleased because we were able to get the dollar amount that we needed, but we were actually short $100,000. And what was amazing is we had these blessings come into our life where things were kind of miscalculated, and we were able to get exactly the dollar amount that we needed to finish the project 5 through 8. And so for me, I'm like, I just can't even. This doesn't happen. This just doesn't happen. We can see God's hand in so many different things in our lives, and so. There's a couple things, like Dallas mentioned, that we were a little concerned with the launch, and I do believe that we feel like we were like the Israelites going through with Moses, in the wilderness for all these years, and we had to figure things out. And God's not going to just say, "Oh, this is what you need to do," and we got to do it. Like, we came up with ideas, and ultimately, some of them were amazing ideas, but we just couldn't do it with the budget that we had. And we look at pivot points of where we made some really, really big decisions. One being which this summer, VidAngel got slapped with a lawsuit that has been going on for quite some time from Disney. And it basically got to the level where they were going to do a judgment. And we knew this going in, that it could get to this level. We knew that this could escalate up to this moment, and it did occur. One thing that I've been really working closely with VidAngel was they are the distribution partners. They're not the chosen. And that's a really, really important thing. And so the people that make up the chosen are the investors, and that's you with the core team that brought the money in and is running the company. We're the chosen. And, if VidAngel comes and goes, we actually have a contract in place. If anything occurs, that it frees us from their distribution contract, that we can open up and get other channels. However, I can tell you, because of everything that happened, we're able to go global now in a way that I could only dream about. And we're using technology that has never been used before in this way. And I really do believe that we're doing a new thing. And what I love about this more than anything, Dallas, and all those that are listening, It's like, you know, why try to be on a platform when we could be platform agnostic, when we can actually be on a platform where everyone in the world, most everyone in the world has access to, and we can go direct to them. How powerful of a way that is, instead of some platform says, no, we don't really like what you're doing. Or you take on things that are happening now on Netflix and Amazon that's been in recent news, and we don't want to be associated with that. Like, we want to be able to get out to the individual and get direct to them. And I can tell you that if those things didn't happen up to this moment, we probably wouldn't have went into this direction.
Yeah, we can't speak for VidAngel explicitly, but I can tell you that in our conversations with Jeffrey and Neil Harmon, the co-founders of VidAngel, when the lawsuit was happening and when the judgment came against them this summer. Now, there's so many more details that we're not going to get into, that some of which are very good. But they said, listen, if this was a way to force us to shift strategy from the VidAngel platform itself, then we all ended up feeling like God almost did that in a way to kind of get us to a new direction. And you'd think that Jeffrey and Neil would have been so depressed about that VidAngel wasn't the route, that the ultimate biggest route for the show, but they were actually excited. And when we all came up with this idea for an app that was allowed you to go directly to the customer as opposed to through a streaming service, which we'll talk about in just a second, how the app works. Some of you already know, of course, but they went all in on creating this app. And the VidAngel platform team, they are the ones who put together this app and invented this technology and created some unprecedented technology that allows you to directly connect with your streaming devices. And they've even said this is some of the technology that we want to use in the future for other platforms. But it's really been exciting to see how some of the negative things that happened are what caused us to pivot and create something that is better than what we ever envisioned. And the notion that as of 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, we were able to flick this switch and allow The Chosen to get out to everyone around the world who wanted to have access to it on this new app in a way that hasn't been done before. We can look back on some of those things over the last year that might have seemed depressing at the time and frustrating at the time, but forced us into something so much better. And it's just a confirmation that God has had his hand on this from the beginning. So, Daryl, also, just before we move into the good news, talk also a little bit about the fact that we've been so, I think this isn't bad news, but I think it's incomplete news, which is that we've been reliant solely on social media, which has been going well, but we haven't reached our full tipping point yet. And that's kind of your area. So why don't you talk about that real quick?
So on this, I think a lot of you that are watching this see social media and you see things that are happening online and audience development. Like, I spent my career developing audiences, and there's always a tipping point. And this tipping point is where you have so much interaction that it spreads organically, that it triggers all this growth that's coming in. And Dallas,
you're not having to pay for it. Growth that you don't have to pay for. Just all of a sudden you start hearing about the show.
Exactly. It's like earned ads basically is what you have, a paid ads, and then you basically have this organic segment that comes in. And you generally, when a new product comes out, it takes years before this happens. And I started to notice some signs, and I kind of pointed it out to Jeffrey Harmon and the core team, both for distribution and with Dallas. And I've never seen fans that are so engaged in this content before, like this. Like, it usually takes years before it happens. Like other series or YouTubers I work with, they have to have so much of the library, but it's really interesting to see people coming together and are passionate about this content and the vision that we actually have. And we're still not to that point. We're not even remotely close, but we're a lot closer than we are.
Yeah, it sounds like quality-wise, we're off the charts. Quantity, we're still working on.
But we're about to break through. from my perspective. And I'm really excited about this because the massive organic growth coming through the launch, the app, the Pay It Forward program, and so much more. What's interesting is we decided strategically to launch on Facebook. We decided to do a Facebook group. We have a Facebook group. If you're not a part of it, I would encourage you all to be a part of not only the fan club, but our Facebook page. We did this because the avatar or the person, the viewer that we wanted, gravitate more to Facebook, and it's easy to share. However, it has been my goal and Dallas's goal that the rising generation would want to find this and consume it and be a part of it, because that's the generation that we truly do believe that is this content is intended for. I think it's intended for everyone, but it's specifically intended to this new rising generation, and to see everything of how they're disconnecting from religion and from God, we feel like it's a great opportunity. Well, the second segment of our marketing plan is to start building up a YouTube audience and subscribing to the YouTube channel. And Dallas is leading the charge there, creating a lot of videos with our team to go to that segment. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that our main audience on Facebook is what we knew it would be, but our audience on YouTube is completely the opposite. It is literally Generation Z, which is, you're talking about 16 to 25-ish, and we have younger millennials, and that's our audience. It's like 70% of all our viewers are coming from that. And we're starting to see them be a lot more passionate about the project and convincing the boomers and the Gen X to actually watch The Chosen. And we don't need to teach them how to consume content from The Chosen. We just got to get them to watch, because as soon as they consume it, they know how, they figure it out. And you probably have, kids or grandkids or relatives that they can just pick up a device and run with it. Well, that's the generation that we're actually targeting in this next phase.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we can say, I think we're shifting now into our good news. These are the things that we think have gone really well. I'm going to talk first real quick just about Daryl, because Daryl then can talk about his thoughts on the show itself.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Daryl has done is that's been so heartwarming for me is, again, just being able to identify strengths and weaknesses of everything that we do and how to target audiences. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've been in the business for over 20 years, and I've never worked with someone who's smarter. I didn't know Daryl before this project. We hit it off right away, and we could see that we were kind of completing each other's sentences, first of all, but we were also filling in each other's gaps. And one of the things that Daryl has been doing that's just brilliant is knowing how to reach that YouTube audience, knowing how to reach that Facebook audience. It was his idea to make sure that we had a Chosen fan club on Facebook, and how to seed that. And so you see me often doing videos, and you see me often talking directly to you. I'm the one who comes up with what to say, but he's the one who's always pushing me or pulling me and saying, you got to talk. You got to keep going.
Sometimes it takes over a year. I just want everybody to know. Yeah. I get my way, but it might take a year or two.
Yeah. Not exactly the easiest to convince all the time, but because I'm not always, if it was up to me, I would just work on the show. I would just create the show and work on the writing. And the number of hours that I work every day now has doubled since Daryl has forced me to become more of an influencer and a communicator than maybe I would have been otherwise. But that's, I think, where a lot of these ideas come from have been from Daryl. And so that's been a huge strength this year, is so much of our audience growth. It comes from a combination, I think a good combination of my being able to communicate to our audience, but Daryl knowing how to get that and how to get that audience to come and how to get me in front of them in a way that's actually going to be effective. And Daryl, I know you've been talking about, you're a fan of the show like everyone else. I mean, you're not as much a part of the writing process or the directing process, and
right.
And you kind of let me handle that. So when I send you, here's the rough cut of the show, here's the episodes, Daryl's one of my first, besides my wife, one of my first audience members.
Yep.
And so maybe you can talk about just what you experienced when you actually watched the show, if it lives up to your expectations.
Yeah. So seriously, the first time I received a script for 1 through 4, I've read a lot of scripts before, just being in the industry, and I was blown away by the impact of the characters and the character development. Like my favorite series of all time is when they really explore the development of characters, and there was things being said and done. I knew this had a making to be something great. Back in my mind, I'm like, okay, like it's great on paper, but like 9 times out of 10, even sometimes 10 out of 10, it just never translates over to screen. I'm like, this is never going to happen the way that I envision it in my mind. And when we was on set, I was on set quite a bit, and we were working with more of the BTS videos, the behind the scenes videos that you're seeing on Facebook and social, getting that going. And I was able to help with some of the producing elements that are there. But ultimately, Dallas is in his jam, and he's here to create, and he's putting in 18, 20-hour, sometimes 21-hour days where he's all day on set, and then he's casting and doing all the little detail work until 1 or 2 in the morning, then getting up at 5 and just starting all over again. And I noticed that when I was on set the first day, we were actually shooting the scene where the children in Christ were together. And I just broke down. I was in tears. Like I never saw Jesus that way. And I remember reading it. I remember envisioning it, but I just to see how powerful that was and how he was treating children, it brought a warmth to my heart that I've never seen that before. And I was hugely involved. I remember getting on the phone to my wife and I says, I'm going to have to stay here a little bit longer than what I intended. And I'm going to have to spend a lot more time on this project than I intended to, because this is going to be something that's going to impact people's lives. Now, I know I thought that, and there's another element that happens. Like you can shoot, you can write, but it's that edit. And I'm like, there's just no way that this is going to ever pull off exactly what it needed to be. But I can honestly say it was far better on the edit and the final product that when I read, there's a lot of little teeny variations to make sure that we're accurate with history and a lot of the different angles from there of, the culture and everything of the times. And I knew that this project was going to be amazing. And fast forward a little bit to reading the scripts, just getting it for the first time. It's like hot off the presses. And all I could hear was actually Parris's voice, who plays Matthews, or Sherar's voice that plays Simon, and I could hear them. And when I started reading the Bible and reading about Matthew and how I'm hearing Parris's voice, and I'm like, this is going to be really good. And I went through it. I tell everyone this. I think the first 4 were amazing episodes, but the best are 5 through 8. Like episode 7. I compare it to the best work that's ever, been in film and television. It's like some of the best dialogue, the story, the setup. One of my little moments, the attention to details. I don't know if a lot of you caught this, but you have Nicodemus and Jesus, on the rooftop. This monumental scene, the most referred to portion of the Bible, and who's on the steps taking notes. It's like those attentions to details. And then also when the paralytic was healed, you have Matthew on the rooftop taking notes, and just getting actively involved. And I'm 100% a fan, and I'm vocal, but we're in good hands. We're really in good hands because what we're looking for is we're making sure it's scripturally on par. And that's where we cross-check that. And having our advisors come on who have a lot more depth and knowledge in the New Testament and Jewish tradition, really pushing back on Dallas. Now, I want to say this one thing, and it's really important. It's okay when we tell Dallas that he's doing something. When I say we, we're talking it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's a PA or, a writer or a scriptorian. They says, no, Dallas, this is the point. He'll always listen, and he might push back a little bit, but he'll always analyze it and try to process it. And one thing that I've seen for the last 2.5 years is he'll do his own research. He just won't listen to it. He'll do his research. And sometimes he won't agree with you, but he'll continue to do that research and until we have a good understanding. And I think that's what The Chosen is. It's like you've taken a little bit of everyone's information and you've made a better product. And that's what we have of season 1 of The Chosen.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate that. And, I sometimes, I was so focused on making the show that it didn't hit me just how much pressure there was with you watching. You poured financial resources into this project based on a 20-minute short film I did on my friend's farm in Illinois. Yeah. You had no idea how the show was going to be. And after I was done with the first 4 episodes and we were playing it for some of you who showed up for the live stream, I realized then and there, oh my goodness, they didn't know if this was going to be good or not. And I just realized, I'm like, if I would have thought about that, I might have felt a little bit more pressure. But I think that in some ways, I hope that encourages you that as much as we're trying to honor your investment, I don't do this show for anyone's approval but God's. Yeah. God is first and foremost, and then my wife, yes, and then my partners and you as investors, of course. But I'm not seeking your approval. I want you to love the show and I want it to impact the world, but I'm primarily making sure that I'm listening to God, and that's the most important thing. And so I hope that encourages you and that doesn't discourage you, that I don't think deeply about making sure that you're happy with the show. I think deeply about making sure God is happy with the show.
And Dallas, can I bring up one point? And this is a really important point for everyone that's there. Is everyone's like wanting to know what angle we're going to take on this or that. It's like Dallas is in complete control of the creative aspects of The Chosen. That's what we agreed to. And working with him over the last 2 years, he will always listen to the concerns that we have and internalize it. But it's really end up to him of how the creative is. And if you love it, it's great. You can pat him on the back and do all this stuff. If you hate it, you could keep it to yourself.
No. Yeah. I always say, if you love it, please spread the word. If you don't like it, please keep it to yourself. Right. But yeah, I do absolutely want, as much as we embrace the notion that I was the ultimate final say on creative matters, it would be foolish of me and not respectful of your investment and not respectful of my partners if it was solely just based on my own ideas. I really like to run things past everyone. Yep. In these final moments, we just have a few more minutes with you that we want to cover. So we'll kind of move quickly here, but a couple other quick points of good news. Over the last couple of months, Daryl came up with the idea of merchandise. We wanted to not be solely reliant on VidAngel, as great as they've been. We don't want to be solely reliant on their efforts on distribution and on building the app. And so we also wanted to keep the trains running. The money that we raised for season 1 that you've helped with was primarily for production. We also have overhead costs, and we want to make sure that we're honoring those needs and also generating other sources of income for your investment, and to make sure that we're able to keep things going and keep building on this business. And this, it is at the end of the day not just a ministry, it's also a business, and we want to follow good principles and make sure that we're being good stewards of the resources that you've provided. And so one of those was merchandise. And so Daryl, because I know we don't want to take too much of people's time, can you just share briefly about how we've been doing with merchandise sales, if they lived up to your expectations, but we've been offering, kind of your mentality of one item at a time and making sure that we maximize those opportunities.
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me is to make sure that we have enough money to do season 2, and looking at other incomes that we can have come in. And a natural income would be merchandise and other ancillary products that can really promote and enhance The Chosen. And for me, having a t-shirt, or what Dallas is wearing right now, a hoodie, basically is a conversation starter. It's a walking billboard. It's a walking advertisement for our most hardcore loyal fans of The Chosen. And I'll be honest with you, I know Dallas was a little hesitant when we first started about going down this road and so on, and it could complicate the things. But
Well,
I think,
we don't want to be crass,
yeah,
commercial. You know, we
right,
don't want to have chosen trinkets and just
exactly.
feel we want to be authentic and organic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And he voiced his concern, but for us, it was like making it sure, first off, we don't have any overhead. So we found a provider that all we did is the sales and then they'd handle it. So we only print what we actually is purchased. That was really important for us. The second thing was making it affordable. And I can say that we were able to pay for the scripts being written in season 2, coming just from merchandise, and we didn't have to wait to have any DVD sales. We could send immediately. I remember after that first call, I says, Dallas, if this happens again, we have a green light to go to start writing the episodes. It's just like we're ready to go. We don't have to wait before we have the money, because I think this is going to actually bring that in. And it's been really good, and you guys have been great support. Our fan club has been a great support. I think that we're just scratching the surface, and I think that I'm not going to predict anything, but I think we'll be able to get to where merch sales in a given year will be able to at least produce one episode of a future season. I think we can get to that level, or can take care of a marketing budget or something that would actually pull money away from an episode. So.
Right. Finally, before we talk about quickly where we're at currently, another piece of just great news from this season that's been, I think, that has mattered more than anything is the lives changed and lives impacted. I cannot stress enough how many times we hear every single day people saying, my life has changed dramatically because of this show. My kids are watching this show and loving it. My relationship with my prodigal brother has been restored because this is something we can watch together. When I was trying to think of, I wanted to even read a couple of comments to you. There are so many I couldn't even choose. And so I would invite you to occasionally check out on Facebook or on YouTube, whenever we post something, there's always comments. And any video you see, you can look in the comments and there will be someone saying, I'm reading my Bible more because of The Chosen. I love Jesus more than ever because of The Chosen. We got a message from a mother who said, my 18-year-old is far from God, hates all Christian media, won't watch it. I convinced her to watch episode 1. She was like, fine, just one episode. And when it finished, she had tears in her eyes and she said, all right, let's watch more. And they ended up binge watching that weekend. That has happened with such monotonous regularity that I've stopped disbelieving it, but it's never not heartwarming. And so,
Dallas, could I make a quick comment before you get into this?
Sure. Sure.
I've seen it personally with my children, and I'm a parent that likes to see what media that they're consuming, and they don't consume media like most families. Like they have a YouTube creator, and they're surrounded by that world, and so they usually connect that. And when I showed them the first episode, 4 of the 5 children fell asleep in the first 2 minutes because they're like, "Oh, another religious show or whatever that Dad's trying to do." And we had to do another showing of it. And I finally got my 16-year-old that he's a great kid. He's doing his scripture study and so on, and occasionally. But when he watched episode 2, I just could see the glow on his face. And he goes, "Oh, this is so great." And I remember right after 3, because this is probably 1 a.m. or something like that, we were watching it, he goes, "This is the Jesus that I envision when I read, and I've never seen this before." And after 4, he was like, "Oh man!" And he has been an active, a vocalist, like a super fan. He couldn't wait to go on the set of 5 through 8. He couldn't wait to meet the characters. And I remember going down to his room just after 5 through 8, and he turns to me and he's reading his Bible. And he says, "Man, Dad, this is just amazing. Like now I envision it so much deeper." And as a parent, as someone that is a little guardian to try to help these little people establish a deeper relationship with God and Jesus, that just warmed my heart. And we were able to have a discussion about Jesus and what he truly is, not what other people say he is, and talk about his conversion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just so constant, and you have such a tremendous role in that. We literally, and this is not a platitude. We literally couldn't have done this without you, and so thank you so much. Not just from us, but from the people whose lives are being impacted because of what you did. And so we can't thank you enough for that. We're going to close with this kind of our current state of the union. There are a couple of things that are happening right now that are very exciting. The app, first of all, I assume you've heard of it because we've been flooding you with emails and social media posts about it. But the app is an unprecedented technology. As I said before, Isaiah 43:19, behold, I am doing a new thing. We want to be doing something new. We don't always want to be following the trends. Christians are often following the world's trends, and we're sometimes just trying to catch up to what they're doing and the disruption that they're doing. And with the Chosen app, we're actually setting the trends. This is the first ever app that allows you to connect directly with your streaming devices, Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, Chromecast, without needing a subscription. So you can literally just push buttons and you can be connecting directly to your streaming devices. Now, some of you aren't used to that. And we understand that, but we are trying to do something that's, like I said, disruptive and trend setting. There's a phrase from episode 7 where Simon is complaining to Jesus about how this is too different. This is not right. And Jesus says, get used to different. That line, I remember even when I wrote it, I thought this is going to be in the trailer, and I think this is going to be a siren song for us. Get used to different. I've had to do it myself. I think we sometimes try to get comfortable. We watch things the way that we watch them, and we're used to that. But if you remember, there was a time when Netflix was brand new, and we didn't know how to use that at first. We had to get used to that, getting DVDs in the mail, getting used to streaming. All that was new, and now this app. I hope you can learn, if you haven't yet, how to use it. It's actually quite simple, and how to share it with others, and how to embrace this new technology, because it really does allow us to do what's most important, which is number 2. This is the global reach of the Chosen. For a long time, we weren't able to go overseas just because distribution-wise, it's expensive. We were talking to different international distributors. We were planning on 2020 doing that, and that was a separate agreement from VidAngel. VidAngel only had United States distribution rights. After talking with VidAngel extensively, thinking about how this would work, realizing that the app had the opportunity to go around the world, we ultimately decided to use the app as our distribution method internationally. Daryl, could you quickly talk about how we are actually making this possible? Because something that I didn't know, although you did, because I'm a bit of a tech moron, it costs money to stream. When someone streams it, every time someone streams The Chosen, it actually costs money. It's not a huge amount, but of course it adds up over time. Now, we want as many people to watch it as possible. We don't want to be thinking about the fact that it costs us a little bit of money. But if we just open it up for free everywhere around the world, immediately, all 8 episodes, we could go bankrupt. It could cost millions of dollars. How are we making this possible? And can you just talk real quick about how that works?
So first thing, anyone can pull out their phone and a smartphone and download the app. They can either go to the Google Play Store or the Apple Store and just type in The Chosen, and you can just download it right there. The great thing about it is it's now open to everyone in every country. And when people would like to watch, if they haven't paid for it, what we have is a program called Pay It Forward. So as they come in, they're able to watch, and they'll get to a point where they'll either have to wait time because there's not enough credits coming in where people can watch. And if they unlock that episode or the series, not only do they get to watch the series without waiting, they can get right to it, but they actually unlock it to 2 other people more, depending on the package that they actually buy. And the great thing is that Pay It Forward model is something that I'm the most excited about, is because now people around the world can watch it for free. And we found this is a really odd thing. It just doesn't happen in marketing, but it was one of those things that we found that we make more money when we give it away for free. Like that, we just found that. And we know that it's going to get out to a lot more people. What I love about it is it's going to give an opportunity for people to consume on their own time. And it's been great so far. And we've been able to see a lot of countries that are able to be impacted. We've seen some countries that have really been impacted that are really just downloading in droves, like the Philippines and Chile and Brazil. And we have a lot of opportunity to make this more global. Now, I do want to make a couple things quite clear. Our goal with The Chosen is, number 1, to do 7 to 8 seasons. The second thing is we want the world to see it. And if we just go on one little platform, we're going to always be constrained of not getting to the global masses. And it's been a desire of Dallas's heart and my heart from day one. How can we get out to the world? Because this is the greatest story ever told. We need to get it out to the people that can really be impacted by it. And so the app is the way. Pay It Forward makes it possible that we can actually raise the money that's necessary for season 2, but it also gets the reach out to people in India or wherever, they're downloading that they have access to.
Yeah, it's been over 150 countries already just in the first few weeks. And I want to give credit where credit is due. Jeffrey Harmon from VidAngel, and this was initially his idea. And he talked with Daryl and Neil Harmon, his partner at VidAngel. They got their heads together. And then we all gathered in Los Angeles during the editing process, gathered in a home and just hashed it out for a day. We fought at times, we agreed at times, but we really worked it out. And all of us were of the same mindset, which was we really believe that as people have the opportunity to give, that they will want to give even more as they start hearing and seeing that people around the world are being able to watch this. So very quickly, what happens is we're already, because of you, able to give people around the world the first couple episodes for free. But then they'll get to episode 3 or 4 or whatever it is. And that's when they have to either pay it forward themselves or wait a couple hours till a free one opens up. But what we want to get to is to a point where they don't actually have to wait, because so many of you, and of course, you've already done your part. If you want to do more, that's great. But there are people all over the country that we want to be continuing to pay it forward so that we get to a point where you go to log on and someone has already paid it forward for you, and you just feel compelled to pay it forward for someone else. So we're working on expanding that, but that is also the means by which we can do future episodes and seasons. And so what I want to talk about real quick is another opportunity that came up besides Pay It Forward that was a potential significant income generator, as well as a way to expand the reach of this show. And that is 2 things. One is focus on the family. And the second one is PureFlix. I'm going to talk about focus on the family real quick. They are extremely passionate about this show. They've seen the episodes. They're over the moon. They are very passionate about curriculum, and their passion is for marriage and family and getting people around the country and around the world to some extent to obviously focus on the family. I didn't even mean to do that pun, but they believe that this show can be a tool to engage families with the God of the universe. And so they are talking already about curriculum. I had a meeting with them yesterday. They want this curriculum to go all the way around the world to allow people to take this show even deeper. The show is not the end game. The show is just a tool to get people to engage even more and to be discipled even more, and Focus on the Family is going to have a huge role in that. They've also worked with my dad. My dad happens to be the author of the Left Behind books. So many of you have appreciated those. My dad is currently, he actually just finished the first novel that actually covers season 1. So my dad is doing the novelizations of season 1 based on the scripts, but also based on more that you can do in a book that you can't do in a film or in a show. And so Focus on the Family is working on the distribution of the novels. We are also working on kids books based on, especially my wife has already written a kids book based on episode 3. So we're going to be doing more kids books, more devotionals, more curriculums, and Focus on the Family is absolutely over the moon to partner with us. And few organizations in the world have more reach than they do. So we're excited about that. And then Daryl, why don't you real quick talk about PureFlix, because this may confuse a few people. They may think, wait
PureFlix.
VidAngel had the exclusive. This isn't a PureFlix project. You told us, this is all about building the VidAngel platform and then the app. I was a little bit surprised myself when PureFlix and VidAngel got together. I actually introduced them initially because I've done a couple of projects, but then they ended up talking about more things than I planned on. Real quick, why don't you tell the current update on our relationship?
One of the main things that when you do TV series or you do a movie, you have a distributor. So VidAngel's our distributor. They're our partner to get the content out there. And usually they're in their little hole. They're in their box. And you can only go as far as their box, and they kind of reach out internationally and so on.
Well, they don't want to compete with others.
Yeah, they don't want to compete. They want to own the pie. And one of the things that we wanted to do, this is really disruptive, this is a new thing, is we're, app, like you can get it for free, you can go anywhere. That literally will destroy any international distribution contracts that we can have, because they're like, wait, it's for free already? Well, then we don't have that exclusivity. So with PureFlix, having them on, we're able to go to a broader market. And we're not like saying, hey, this is our content, you can only come and find it here. We want to get this out there to everyone. And if we can do this right, and this is where it's an amazing marketing play, is getting on the right platforms that already have the audience that would love The Chosen. That's going to help us with that early adoption phase, that we can get to season 2 and season 3 and season 4 and season 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 a lot quicker. Because as more people are exposed to it, they're able to go through the process of sharing it, and it gets it out to more people. And so for us, we see it as a unique opportunity to share the project with so many more people and get them involved. And before you know it, should be able to jumpstart some real marketing efforts in 2020. And that's what I'm probably the most excited about, is some of the ideas that Dallas and I have been planning on since day one. We just never had the money or the time, or it wasn't the right time to make this happen. But yet we do now. Like we are building our team. We're very conscientious about every dollar that we bring in. We have a lot of debate on what to use. We always talk, Dallas and I, and we have our meetings to make sure that every dollar is justified, because our main purpose is every dollar that we pull away, we're very purposeful, making sure that dollar can go to future seasons. And as we bring in future seasons, that's where all of us can really enjoy the profits of The Chosen, because we don't make any money on it. I've actually put a lot of money into this, and I've never made a cent. And that's where deals like with PureFlix and other distributors that we're working on right now can bring more money in quicker, that we can get to season 2 and to 3 and to 4.
Right. Yeah, and so the question might be, well, if you're sharing with PureFlix, doesn't that hurt the sales that we're doing with VidAngel, with the app, with the DVDs? Here's the deal. Again, we won't get into too much of the details just because it will take too much time, but VidAngel worked with PureFlix on a deal that allowed us to promote the Pay It Forward plan to the PureFlix audience. Amazing. So the PureFlix audience is not only seeing this show, which just helps in terms of what we call social proof, which means that, like, examples of social proof are when you are out and you talk to someone about The Chosen and they say, oh, I've already heard of that, or oh, I've already seen that. You probably had a hard time so far this year, because when you talk about The Chosen, they're like, I haven't heard of it yet. Well, getting it on PureFlix expands PureFlix expands our social proof, but also they get our messaging. So I actually created a couple of videos that go to the PureFlix audience that say, listen, we're glad that you're watching this, but be aware that if we want to do future episodes and seasons, we do need to do this Pay It Forward plan. And PureFlix, to their credit, was happy to share that with them and share that with their customers. So that's a big benefit. And also, of course, as people watch it on PureFlix, that generates income because they have a whole subscription system. And so we do get financial benefit from people watching it on the PureFlix system. So that financial benefit, of course, will go towards The Chosen LLC, goes towards the production of future episodes and seasons, which brings us to our very final point. Thank you so much. If you've stuck with us this long, congratulations. We appreciate that. But we thought that all this information could be of interest to you. But our final point is, okay, I do appreciate all this great news. I'm so glad that the show is going around the world. But again, ultimately, we do want to generate income, and we are investors, not donors. In fact, I'm an investor. Daryl, you are an investor.
Yes.
Our family members are investors. My father is an investor. So what do we say to them about how, when we're sitting around the table, and if my dad says, all right, so I'm proud of you, Dallas, but will this ever actually make money? We first want to say, I always make this very clear, Daryl and I and the other partners in The Chosen do not see a dime in profits until you profit. And we made that very clear from the beginning. So obviously there's some overhead costs, and I do get a writer's fee and a director's fee when I am making the show. And we intentionally made it moderate and actually below industry standard, because we want to be very protective of your money. But we do not see profits, a dime, until you get your money back plus 20%. Now that may not happen. I mean, there's no guarantee of that. And that's very important that we make legally, and from the SEC and all that, we make that very clear. We hope it happens. There's obviously good indicators that it could happen, but that's not a guarantee. I just want to make sure that you know that we are still, as of now and forever, not going to be taking profits until you have profited. Now, on that note, how can people profit, Daryl? What is this income that's coming in if it's going immediately into season 2? Is there ever a point when we reach that level where money can actually come in and the investors can make that decision if they want to withdraw or if they want to keep going and have this continue to build?
So there's going to be different points. Right now, we're in the early adopter phase. Like, not everyone knows about The Chosen. Not everyone knows that it even exists. I'm always surprised of new people coming on that I'm connected to, and they're like, "Wait, I just found this that you share this." I'm like, "I've been sharing this for 2.5 years." It's like, why is it finally clicking now? But it's like everyone's along the journey, and it generally takes quite a few years in a TV series to develop a big audience. What I'm excited about is that we're actually ahead of schedule of where I thought we would be at this point. And we're growing at a very fast rate on socials and so on. And our main goal from day one, and we've made it quite clear, was to make 7 to 8 seasons of this program. But in truth, for us to do that, we have to be able to find the way to make money. Now, I truly do believe with the efforts that we've put in place and the changes that we've made, we have the highest probability for us to get to that point where we can do 7 to 8 seasons. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to be doing another raise. It doesn't mean any of the other things. But I truly do believe that as we're getting momentum to season 2, season 3, we'll be able to start enjoying the benefits of where we can kind of analyze what you want to do with those profits. And it really depends on a couple key things. Like, we do not have a marketing budget. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, and buts about it. We need to be able to get in and really market this the proper way. And I truly do believe of having one full season and having another season in production that will actually get out to the masses like we never would before, because people can consume it and they can see that this is not just a flash in the pan and it's going away. And as soon as we can get to that moment, and if we can bring other elements in, like what we did with the merchandise to help bring in other income besides selling The Chosen, we're going to be in a stronger position to get to the point where we can choose what we want to do on that.
Yeah, so we don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but there will come a point where we're able to communicate with you directly and say, you have an option. You can decide how you want your financial resources, your investment to be handled in terms of the distribution of the money. So we have smarter minds than Daryl and I who have all the details of that, and we'll get that to you obviously in the next, in future communications. But we just wanted to make sure that you know that yes, all of this income goes towards the show, but there will come a point in time where you have that opportunity to make a decision about whether you want to move forward.
And I think the most important point on this too is this is not like a movie where you have your weekend earnings and you only have a certain amount of time to bring in money. That we're playing the long game here, and some of the most profitable media projects are television, and where they have multiple episodes. And the real money is when you're done with production, and then you have no overhead, and it just keeps on making money because of the distribution and getting out there. And that's where it can get really, really interesting for you as an investor and us as investors as well.
And you see, like, just even with the PureFlix deal, that's a smaller deal compared to what over the long haul, once we have these multiple seasons, there are companies and TV companies around the world who will be excited by the fact that it's actually on an app, that there's so many people talking about it. And there are potential TV deals that can be made around the world, even here in the States. But obviously our primary streaming goals are with the app. That's where we want people to go when they're streaming it. We'll have other partners like PureFlix, of course, but primarily we want to point people towards our app and towards the Pay It Forward program. But there are, of course, going to be other ways to do this over the next few years, and ultimately for the long haul. I mean, this is a show that's going to live forever. Until Jesus comes, this show is going to be beauty of media, is will always be there. And our goal is to hit over 1 billion people around the world. And we believe that that's absolutely realistic. So I just want to close with this from the bottom of my heart. And I know that's a commonly used phrase, but I mean it. My heart is full because of what you've done and your confidence that you placed in us, your faith that you placed in God. to trust us with not only your spiritual goals, but your financial resources. Daryl and I talk about it all the time, that we feel a great weight and obligation to you because of the faith that you've shown. Those of you who invested at a certain level and were able to come to the set, we've been able to meet so many people who've just said, we just want to see this show get out to the world. But I always say, that's great and that's wonderful, but we're also protecting your investment because we want to be good stewards, not only spiritually, but financially. But thank you so much. My wife thanks you so much because of the fact that we literally couldn't do this without you. We say it all the time. And Daryl, any closing thoughts?
Yeah. First off, I really do feel the weight of the investments that come in, and it's something, just making sure that we're on budget. And I was so glad that this last round that we were under budget. It's like we're being very conscientious of what we spend and how we can actually save money. Second thing is, I love all the response and the investors, and they really get the vision behind what we're trying to do here. This is a new thing, but I want to put a special appreciation to Amanda. First off, she has gone through 2.5 years, if not longer, of misery to get this project where it's at, and there's a lot of unknowns. And my wife Carolyn, and we've put a lot of energy. Like, I've worked 2.5 years. I've not taken one dime, anything. I've put in more money just because we needed it, and we got to this point. But I know all the heartache and the trials and the inspiration that we receive is for a purpose. And this is something amazing. And I'm so grateful, not only for your trust in us, but the product that we have. Like, this is an amazing thing. Like, I've seen series before, but this is actually really good, and the world deserves to see it. And we need to get it out to the billions of people. I was just in Singapore just a couple weeks ago, and it was so easy to say, hey, have you seen The Chosen? What's The Chosen? We have a discussion, and they're able to download the app. They're able to watch an episode right from their palm in their hand. This is going to be very impactful, and I'm really grateful for you, for your trust in us to create content that can go out to the world.
Yeah. Thanks so much. God bless, and we'll be talking, of course, in the future. But more than anything else, Merry Christmas. We love you.